As has been said, the Antonio Villaraigosa Leadership Award was first presented to Mayor Villaraigosa in 2012 in Orlando as he closed his term as president of the United States Conference of Mayors. It was announced at that time that the Latino Leaders Network would rename the award in his honor to be presented annually at the Tribute to Mayors to recognize outstanding mayors who are dedicated to bringing their diverse communities together. Mayor Villaraigosa, in his 8 years of service as mayor of the second largest city in America, Los Angeles, clearly set what we believe to be the very highest standard of excellence by which all future awardees will be measured. And we are thrilled to have him back with us once again. He traveled on a red-eye from Los Angeles, landing very early this morning on his birthday. Yes, today is Antonio's birthday. But he's with us here today, and I'm very grateful to have him once again to help us honor two terrific leaders, Mayor Gray and Mayor Stanton. So now, please welcome the birthday boy, the Honorable Antonio Villaraigosa, to the podium. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Antonio. Happy birthday to you.
You know, let me say something about Mickey. And I think it's a testament to Mickey that so many of us are here. I tell people in every community there are those people that bring people together. They're, shepherds, if you will. They bring the flock in. And I don't know anybody, anyone in politics and who's had a life in public service who promotes more people, others, not himself, but others, who is such an advocate for his community, but all communities, in the way that Mickey is. And it's hard to say no to Mickey, as you all know, but I couldn't be more honored to be here because he is a true friend and an advocate, not just for the Latino community, but for all the communities of this great country. So let's give him a big hand for all his work. And then I do want to say, something about the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was majority, in the 20-some-odd years that I was in public life and really in public as an elected office. I served as majority whip, the majority leader, Speaker of the California State Assembly. I was a council member and mayor. But I tell people there was no job, and I hope to come back one day. But there's been no job, and I don't think there ever will be quite like being a mayor. And I think the mayors who are here, both the mayors who are still in the job and those who no longer are, have a deep respect for what mayors do, a deep love for the cities they come from, and the organization that has represented us and represented us so well is the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And I just couldn't be prouder to be here with my brother Tom, who we all love. Let's give him a big hand. I love that guy. And I want to say something about this tribute to mayors, because I thought Mayor Smith said it very well. We are the folks that kind of bind communities together. Now that hasn't always been true. I'll tell you something. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm here today, and I've said it many times. I'm here today because there was a Civil Rights Act. I'm here today because there was a Voting Rights Act, because people fought to open up the door to us. And I've said many times, it was that civil rights movement that made America all that it said it held itself out to be. But more and more mayors are realizing, and political leaders are realizing, that we have to represent everyone. We have to connect the dots, the many different communities that make up our cities. And this award, this tribute, is a tribute to those mayors who have understood that, who understand that, you know, we have to represent the rich, the poor, black, white, Latino, Asian, gay, straight, Christian, non-believer, Jew, Muslim, that we have to be uniters in so many ways. And so I couldn't be prouder that this award is named after me, but it really was probably more, I think, a reflection of the friendship and brotherhood that Mickey and I, because every one of the recipients could easily have had this tribute named after them. I have the honor of saying a few words about the two honorees, and I'll begin with the first one, Mayor Vincent Gray. And I know that he got the biggest applause when he came in, and he did because he's the hometown mayor. But what a lot of people don't realize, he's also a mayor who has stood up. You know, it's easy to demonize, and you know we're moving away from outwardly, you know, racial animus. You know, more and more people are very reluctant to say things that, you know, that people might be offended by. But it's still kind of popular for people to demonize and scapegoat immigrants, and particularly the undocumented who can't vote, who, you know, can't really respond. They're usually under the dark and not in the light. And Mayor Gray has, from the beginning, understood that he had to kind of represent everybody. And he's done that very well. Many of you don't know, but you should, that he stood up for the notion and signed the notion that people ought to be able to have a driver's license. You know, the driving, it's actually good for public safety. It's a good thing that people have a driver's license. It wasn't easy to do. Some people took umbrage with that, fought it. When he stood up and said, you know, look, a lot of people are using our public health system. It costs our taxpayers a lot of money when they do. We ought to make sure that there's some prevention and basic medical care for these people. We ought to get behind those nonprofits that do that. He stood up for that. Again, when a lot of people might not have made that an issue, but he understood that health is really something that we ought to all be for. And we could disagree about how we get there, but everybody ought to have health care, and he stood for that. And we want to acknowledge him for that as well. You know, Mayor Gray, that I understood, and I think we all do, that the best among us have to represent all of us. And you have done that. And all of you know that he's running for re-election, and he should have the support of the community that brings us here today. And so I want to bring up Mayor Gray to accept, along with Mr. Ibarra. I don't have all those liner notes that Mr. Smith talked about, so I'm assuming Mr. Ibarra will. Let's bring him up here. Want to get
In the middle. Come right here. We're gonna photo right here.
Okay, just this quick.
Podium's yours, sir.
Well, first of all, let me say good evening, everyone. Let me begin by thanking Mickey Ibarra for the leadership that he has provided. Isn't Mickey one of our finest leaders in this nation who brings us together? Thank you, Mickey, for what you do. I also want to thank, I'm going to call him Mayor Villaraigosa. He will always be Mayor Villaraigosa. He was the chairman, president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors when I first got elected, welcomed me into the organization with open arms. And Mayor, you are an icon. You are an iconic leader, someone who we all have learned a great deal from. And really, it is a great honor for me to be able to call you friend as someone who has done so much for so many mayors across this nation. Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa. I also have to recognize another mayor who is here tonight, who is someone who really over the years has become a dear friend of mine. He served for 8 years as the mayor of the District of Columbia. He was the president of the National League of Cities at one time and really took over the District of Columbia at a time when it would be an understatement to say that we were in precarious financial straits. He was the chief financial officer and then was elected mayor for 8 years. And I want you to know, Mayor Williams, that you are someone for whom I have enormous respect. I appreciate what you've done for the people of the District of Columbia and appreciate the fact that you continue today to serve this city. Mayor Anthony Williams. I want to thank you, Mayor Smith, for taking on the responsibility of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And at such point that you're not doing that anymore, you have a calling as a stand-up comedian. So you did a good job of, as you say, warming up the audience, and it's great to be able to serve with you now during your tenure as the head of the organization and someone who has created something innovative called the Innovation Program. And it's given a lot of us a chance to talk about things that we do in our own city. So thank you very much for your leadership. And to Mayor Stanton, the mayor of Phoenix. Some of you may have seen us taking a photograph earlier. There's a bridge, there's a nexus here that many may not know. The mayor, of course, is the mayor of Phoenix, Arizona. We have a new chief financial officer here in the District of Columbia, a gentleman by the name of Jeff DeWitt, whose previous job was the CFO for the city of Phoenix, Arizona. Jeff, stand up and be recognized. You know, it is an extraordinary honor, frankly, for me to be able to serve in this capacity. I'm a native Washingtonian. I went to the public schools of the District of Columbia. I went on to George Washington University, and I've been here in the city my entire life. If there ever was a homie, it is me. And I'm delighted to be able to have this opportunity to be in this role. I also am delighted to be able to do the things that I think are important to the city, and to be able to be honored tonight by Mickey and the network is such an important thing for me, Mickey. And you know, it doesn't get any better to be honored for doing the right thing. And that is exactly what we've tried to do in the city, is the right thing. I work with, every day, one of the finest group of leaders that I've ever worked with in my life. I'm sure there are other mayors who feel like they've had extraordinary cabinets and leadership groups that they work with, but I believe that mine is the absolute finest group, and some of them have joined me here tonight, and I want to take the opportunity to recognize them. First of all, our Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Bibi Ochero. A gentleman who served as the director of our Department of Parks and Recreation, who did such an extraordinary job that I couldn't wait to tap him for the next responsibility that came along. You see, we not only are a city, we're a county and we're a state all rolled into one. So we have an office of the State Superintendent for Education. And even though we're a city, we have a State Superintendent for Education. And that gentleman happens to be Jesus Aguirre. Jesus. And the person who does a great job, she worked with me when I was the chair of the Council of the District of Columbia, and then moved over when I had the opportunity to do this. She's the executive director of our Office of Latino Affairs, Roxana Olivas. The things that we've tried to do, again, are the right thing. I was glad to be able to sustain, and Mayor Williams was involved in starting the Healthcare Alliance here in the District of Columbia. It really is one of the things that's allowed us to be able to have a very narrow gap between those who are insured and those who are uninsured. Even before the Affordable Care Act was adopted, we were in a position to say that we were second in the nation, second only to the state of Massachusetts in covering adults, and we were first in the nation in covering children. And a big reason for that is the Healthcare Alliance. The Healthcare Alliance covers people who will not be covered by Medicaid, and many of those folks are not going to be covered by other commercial insurance programs in the country. We have a lot of undocumented immigrants who are covered by the Healthcare Alliance, and isn't it wonderful to be able to say to people, you don't have to worry about waiting until you get very sick to go to an emergency room. You have insurance that will cover you, and you will do it in a dignified way to be able to go in and receive the health care that you deserve in a preventive and early interventive way. We also were asked at one point by the federal government, I'm sure we're all aware of Secure Communities. We were asked by the federal government to have our law enforcement officers go in and enforce immigration laws, if you will. And we said we weren't going to do that unless there was some reason, unless there was some criminal act that was involved. We were not going to routinely go and inquire about people's immigration status. If you want to do that, you are in the wrong city in Washington, D.C. to expect us to do that. It is not going to happen. And yes, Mayor Villaraigosa, we recognize too that there are a lot of people who could not get driver's licenses in this city. People who work, people who want to work, people who want to be able to get to their job every day and deserve the opportunity to be able to drive safely, and frankly, to be able to create safe opportunities for other people to move about in the District of Columbia. So I actually asked my staff, I said, you know what, we want to put together a bill, and we're going to work with our Council of the District of Columbia to get this bill passed. We introduced it last spring. It took a lot longer than what I thought it was going to, but those who've been in these jobs, you know that things don't move as quickly as you would like. And finally this fall, we got the council to enact this bill that provides the opportunity for people who are undocumented to be able to get a driver's license in the District of Columbia so that they can go to work and get around the city just like everybody else. Our mantra is one city, and we mean that quite seriously, and that is anybody who lives in the District of Columbia, among the 647,000 people who live in the District of Columbia, is going to be treated with dignity and respect and have the same opportunities as everybody else. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the way we live every day. And I invite you all to work with us here in this city also, so that the day will come when we have a vote in Congress, we are treated with the same dignity and respect, and maybe we'll be the 51st state of the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
Fire and brimstone. Do I have a witness? Yeah. I thought I was at church. But I do need to add to something that Mayor Gray said. When they stood up on the issue of secure communities, they did it before many states have stood up. California has now stood up and said, we're not cooperating with anybody because our job isn't to enforce a nation's immigration laws. Our job is to protect the public safety, and public safety officers need to be trusted by the communities that they serve. And we all know, and I hope the mayors who are here understand, secure communities was adopted under this notion that we were going to go after serious felons, people that committed serious crimes. And instead, the vast majority of people that have been deported didn't commit serious crimes. In fact, many of them, hundreds of thousands of them, didn't commit any crime. And the fact that you have stood up this way, Mayor Gray, and that the District of Columbia stood up in this way, says so very much. Let's give them a big hand. We couldn't be prouder of your effort. Thank you. You know, I don't have to tell you that Arizona is a great state. It's one of our sister states, California and Arizona, Nevada, out in the west. But we all know that for some time in Arizona, there were some who were on a mission, if you will, to divide not just Arizona but the nation on the issue of immigration. I don't have to tell you that we all know that this immigration system here in the United States is broken. People on the left understand that, people on the right understand it. And we got to fix it. Some people have chosen to really scapegoat an entire community in a way that the courts have found are discriminatory. And there have been people, and as much as he joked, and he was nervous, by the way, because he realized I was coming after him, and he thought I might, do a tit for tat, but instead, I'm going to turn the other cheek and say something nice about him. This man right here, Scott Smith, stood up. He stood up when, Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, not very easy to do, but he stood up. And he engendered my and our respect for his willingness to do that. He stood up for comprehensive immigration reform. And Arizona's had others who have done that as well. And one of them is Mayor Greg Stanton. Historically, Phoenix elects more Democrats than not, but it's still, you take on these issues, everyone, it's not easy. You're always going to have a large number of people who just disagree. And Mayor Stanton hasn't shied away from standing up with the courage of his convictions on the issue of immigrants' rights, on the issue of the democratic and human rights that human beings have. And that was particularly true around the whole Arizona law and the debate around it. You know, he's someone who understands that Phoenix is a diverse city, but he did something, you know, virtually all of us understand that we have to appoint people from every community, but he appointed a dreamer. And I think one of the first people to appoint a dreamer that I know. He understands the strategic nature of the border and the fact that it isn't just a place of tension and conflict, but really a place of opportunity. So he's led delegations to Mexico to really push this notion of trade and economic investment on both sides of the border. So for those reasons, we honor him tonight and like to ask Greg Stanton, the mayor of the great city of Phoenix, to join us.
Where's got it? Right there.
Just cover the names. Somebody else just cover the names.
Greg Stanton.
I'll make sure we have
The right one.
Ruben is supposed to be up here with us. Ruben Alvarez of Phoenix. Come on up here. Here we go. I'm gonna just set that before we right back here.
Thank you.
All right. The Antonia Villaraigosa Award. That's pretty cool. Mayor Villaraigosa, what an honor. Mickey, thank you very much. Mickey, just for the record, please don't have mayors follow the hometown mayor. That's not fair. I mean, come on. Mayor, great speech. Really appreciate it. Congratulations. Give another round of applause. Mickey Ibarra, thank you for creating this organization that recognizes leadership not at the local level, but you do at a lot of national organizations as well. You spent your career in government, bringing people together, now in your private sector career, bringing people together for the good of our society. So let's give Mickey Ibarra another big round of applause. He's awesome. We appreciate it. And Mayor Villaraigosa, this award, what an honor it is to receive an award named after you. You have been a positive influence and role model for myself and so many other mayors and people that care passionately about public service that are represented here in this room. I've admired you since the time I served on the city council in the city of Phoenix. You know, I think everyone here remembers the massive marches to push for immigration reform that swept the country in 2006 and 2007. Those of us in Arizona remember the marches down Washington Street in downtown Phoenix, but the one across the country that sticks out in my mind was the one that occurred in Los Angeles, and that's because of you, Mayor. For those of you who don't remember, in LA there was a crowd of nearly 500,000 people marching through the streets of Los Angeles, marching straight toward City Hall. And it was at a time when many politicians, not very many politicians wanted to be around these type of marches. Mayor Villaraigosa met those marchers at the door of City Hall. He waved an American flag, literally waved a massive American flag, and he said, "You are all welcome here. America is your country too. Every person deserves a shot at the American dream," unquote. That is leadership. That's the real deal. That to me is a perfect example of how a mayor, through their tone and their own actions, can make a difference and send a message that every person in our respective communities and our cities has value. I think about that moment often, Mayor. And the 2 years that I've been lucky enough to be mayor of Phoenix, Arizona, I've tried to follow the example you have set through my own actions and through my own words. I try to make sure that every person in my community understands that they are welcome in the city of Phoenix. It's important to all of us. Every person in our city understand that the diversity that we are lucky enough to have in the city of Phoenix, and will soon be a majority Latino city in the city of Phoenix, that thank you, that's great news. That diversity is our greatest strength, not our weakness. And that's something that I want to do. It's something that I've come to believe that we have a responsibility to do, because with the continued failure at the federal and, in our case, state level, getting real work done is falling on the shoulders of cities and mayors more and more. That's true everywhere. I know people in this room know exactly what I'm talking about, not just in Phoenix. And Mayor Gray, your leadership is an example of that, and the focus you've put on lifting up your city's Latino community is a great example of what local communities can do. Your leadership is very, very much appreciated. And we all know there's been a vacuum in Congress, and I'm not the only person in this room who was incredibly frustrated with the continued failure of Congress to pass real, comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship. And that failure has allowed state legislators around the country, most notoriously in the state of Arizona, to pass their own divisive laws. You know what you've read about 1070 and the state of Arizona, but I have to tell you something. 1070 doesn't represent Arizona. It doesn't represent Phoenix, the city that I am lucky enough to lead. The city that I lead, and I have spent nearly all my life is compassionate. The city that I lead is compassionate and welcoming and has an enormous heart. I see all those qualities and a special energy from our young Latino population, especially those dreamers in our city who want one thing, a fair shot at the American dream. They're hungry for it. They're willing to work for it. And when you combine that energy and determination and add to it bilingual skills and a sense of entrepreneurialism, we as a community have a better shot of a great future. It gives us an enormous opportunity to grow, especially when it comes to trade with Mexico and Central and Latin America. I'm committed to harnessing the strength of our diverse populations and using it to get our economy back on track for the long term. We started by working overtime to repair and rebuild our relationships with the country of Mexico, Arizona's #1 trading partner. That takes time, and I've been lucky enough to be on trade missions to Mexico 5 times over the last 2 years, and each time it is getting better because we as a community are putting in the work to strengthen that relationship, especially when it comes to the issue of trade and the jobs that go along with it. And I want to take this very moment to recognize someone who has been an incredible partner for myself, Mayor Smith, and the other leaders in this effort to increase trade with Mexico and rebuild those relationships. And that is our friend who Mickey mentioned, Ruben Alvarez. Ruben, please stand. Let's give a big round of applause. He's on the board of Latino leadership. It is because of your time on the Arizona-Mexico Commission and the relationship that you built, and now we're repairing, is helping us get the job done. It's for the betterment of the future of Arizona, and I appreciate it. That work is paying off. Last October, Mexico's Foreign Secretary came to my office, and we spoke about how excited he is that our relationship is moving in the right direction in Phoenix and in Arizona. And because of our progress, Phoenix will be opening its first ever trade office at Mexico City, and it'll be the only Arizona trade office in Mexico. Our efforts are going to benefit not only the city of Phoenix, the entire region, and the entire state of Arizona. I really believe that our entire region can have greater success if we work together to renew our partnership and friendship with the country of Mexico. And my friend, Mayor Scott Smith, I want to thank you publicly because of your support, not only specifically on the issue of trade with Mexico, and you've been a great leader on that issue as well, but also for your leadership as an advocate for immigration reform. It is not always easy in Arizona, in our political environment back home, to do what you are doing in that regard. But you understand how important it is for cities to lead, and lead in a way and time again that you've done what is right over what is politically convenient. And that is something that I've always respected about Mayor Smith. Let's give him another round of applause. And as excited as I am about the progress we made with our relationship with Mexico and Arizona, that is not enough. We have to use our pulpits, our bully pulpits, and use our voices to advocate for change. I was lucky enough to meet with the president, as many other people in this room was just a few hours ago, and I reminded him how important what he is doing to fight for comprehensive immigration reform, how important that is for Phoenix. And I would politely argue that no city, no region in the country will benefit by the passage of comprehensive immigration reform more than Phoenix and the entire Phoenix region. So we need everyone in this room to use your voice and make it loud to speak. I know a lot of people are writing this off, but I don't think it's time to write it off. Now is the time for Congress to act and do the right thing for our economy and pass comprehensive immigration reform. So I promise that back home in Arizona, I'll continue to be a vocal supporter and a voice and to try to pass the kind of legislation whose goal is to continue to do the right thing. And I will oppose laws. We have one going on right now in Arizona, which I think is going on in many other places around the country, laws that have tried to disenfranchise our minority communities, particularly the Latino community. And the other promise I'll make, and you'll probably unfortunately be reading about this more and more, is to be a strong voice to support enfranchisement, to get more people to the ballot box. It is the right thing to do, and efforts to disenfranchise people is taking us exactly in the wrong direction. And we're going to continue to push to raise college attainment rates around our Latino population. And in a city that will soon be majority Latino, it is absolutely unacceptable that the Latino college attainment rate is below that of other populations. We have to do right by our young people and give every young child a chance to succeed. I'm incredibly honored by this award named for a great leader, America's mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, and I promise you that despite the progress that we are making, you have not seen anything yet. We're going to keep at it. Thank you for this award and have a great evening.